Okay, but yes, focusing on the prison services now, we've got Mr. Kaide Williams with us. He's of the Prison Rehabilitation Mission International. Good to see you again, sir.
Nice meeting you.
Well, you know that yesterday when Senator Itainan, the President's Assistant on National Assembly Matters, did put up that message that the President has signed this Nigeria Correctional Services Bill into law. The Act repeals the Nigeria Prison Service Act, and so that means that with the signing, the prison service will now be called the Nigerian Correctional Service. Apparently, it's been on for a while. But what does this mean to you?
It means a lot. There is a powerful force behind change, particularly of a name. When you talk of prison, prison is a confinement where people are kept for custody. And if you look at the logo, the crest of the prison service, you will see key as their symbol, 2 keys, which shows the main target of a prison officer is to open and lock the prisoner. But when you talk of correctional service, it's education. You want to educate the people. You don't just lock them, keep them there. You want to reform them. You want to change their way of life before. You sincerely want to believe that these people can still become productive. But the prison don't see, when it was called prison, because it is no more prison now, I am a happy man today.
Okay, but is this happiness not going to be short-lived, or is it well thought of? Because for those who think, well, if they've done this, what they expect to see is that the structure, the support structure, the infrastructure will all be geared towards the correctional strategy and process. But what we still have today, has that fundamentally changed because you changed the name?
That is why we need to go further, because the change cannot just be in name alone. It must be holistic, starting from the Controller General. And everything about prison must change. Everything. That is how it is done in a sane climb. I've been to Holland, Poland, where they are now coming out of prison. They are closing down their prison, turning it into a 5-star hotel.
So, what do we expect and how soon? So, for instance, if I go to, if one goes to prison, that's not a good example.
I mean, you can visit.
No, not a good example. But if one goes to prison now,
yes,
what do we expect as a result of this?
One, the prison officers who are now correctional workers, they have to be trained, they have to be taught, they have to be drilled on issue of correctional services. It is different from the system they are coming with. And that is why I'm congratulating the President for taking the bull by the horn. It's not easy. It has been so many people today, particularly stakeholders in prison matters. I'm sure they are very happy. Those who know the meaning of that change in name, which will affect all the system. The only thing that will remain is the building.
So it's the same people that will be taking the same criminals, if I may use the word, same murderers, same thieves, same people that will be taken there as when it was in prison, even the same when it's in the how does that change the mind? Does that in any way, this change of name, this whole change of apparatus,
yes,
does that in any way change the person? You know, before, how
that is where we are going now. We now focus on the person. Before, I am telling you that the aim of the prison authority is to keep a criminal behind the bar. And they lock them up like an animal in the zoo because they believe he cannot do well. He is sent here to be punished for the wrong he has done. But when you say correctional, you are sending him, that inmate, to a correctional service.
What if the person doesn't want to be corrected? What if the person doesn't want to change?
There is nobody that cannot change.
I mean, talking about the person.
I know. There is nobody that is a human being. If he has the right instructor, you need somebody who can show a face of human being in talking to an offender. He has offended. He has done wrong. He has been a killer before. He has done so many evil things. But you want to change him. Two wrongs cannot make a right. You cannot just chain him down, chain his hands, push food to him, but you come to him, sit down. A correctional officer will sit down with an inmate and talk to him.
There have been cases, I'm sure you know, where certain criminals, so to speak, I'm careful to use the word criminal, and I think they've changed the offender, okay?
That's more correctional approach.
That's one of the languages we are trying to change to.
Exactly. So there have been repeat offenders in time past.
Yeah.
What if we have such again, that, you know, as an example of this person that's been corrected, released, and the person still goes back?
Yes, because we are talking, that's why we say prison. Prison doesn't reform people. They will tell you our duty is to reform. How do they reform? They don't have lectures on reformation. They will say, okay, we have institutions where we train, we have carpentry workshop. What are they producing from their carpentry workshop? They said they have tailoring workshop. Are they producing dresses which the prison officers are even using themselves? Or who come to patronize them? But now, when you talk of a correctional institute, you completely deorientate them. You orientate them on issues of a new life. I am sitting down here before you. I have been in the prison for 10 years. And that is why I'm happy today that in my lifetime, the name prison can be removed and a correctional institute substituted by Mr. President.
No, I think a lot of Nigerians will understand why this is a major priority for you. I mean, you've experienced this.
Exactly.
And I remember, like 20 years ago, I was at a meeting when you spoke, and, you know, your account actually moved me. But that's aside, I digress. So let's take a look at this. Now, we're talking about people that are offenders that have been convicted. But I was looking at statistics, and that just accounts for just 32% of inmates we have in prisons right now. On a larger scale, 68% of people in prison are still awaiting trial. And that's shocking. So that means, you know, by and large, we could have, you know, much lesser people in our prisons as it stands. And we understand that this particular law is meant to take a look at that. So moving forward with this, how will this reduce the number of people awaiting trial? First?
Yes, with the bill that was signed into law by Mr. President yesterday. Now, they were categorized, I think it was categorized into two different categories. The classification of the convicted inmates. We have people that have been found guilty and convicted. Conviction are in 2 or 3 places, ways. One, convicted for offenses that are to be sentenced into jail term. Some are convicted for murder, which is a death sentence. Death sentence means go and be ready to be killed. But correctional institutes take in inmates that are sentenced for a period of time for corrections, including the condemned ones. But the second group, which is awaiting trial, which falls, they are not going to be, because you don't lock them together, but here, because there is prison, both the convicted and the awaiting trials are jammed up in the same prison. There is going to be a segregation. Now that is correctional institute. Because you cannot be correcting an awaiting trial. A man who is not guilty is still on trial. Why should you mingle him with hardened offenders? So you have to first of all try him. So there is going to be a segregation of inmates.
But is that segregation going to be sufficient? Isn't there supposed to be some sort of measure on the part of the judiciary to ensure that we don't have, look at that, that's huge, 68%. Shouldn't there be some sort of collaboration between the correctional service, as it is called now, and the judiciary to ensure that you don't even have that amount of people awaiting trial in the first place?
Yes, I saw one of the write-up yesterday that the president, in the bill that he signed, some of these awaiting trials will be differently trained. That is, kept in their own place, waiting their trial. But for the convicted ones, the segregation is now going to make sure that they focus on the attitude now, how we can change the image, the convicted ones. They will now focus on how the criminal justice system will come in for the congestion of prisons. They are not focusing on that. And that is the area you are going. Because if the percentage he has quoted is about 60-something for awaiting trial, and 30-something% are inmates of the landlords, the real owner of the prison, they are lesser than the awaiting trials. So that is why I'm telling you of segregation. There is classification.
Right. What do you excuse me? What do you expect from society in terms of the mindset of society? Because we see it go to prison. He's been to prison. We still had that mindset. How should we key into this?
Yes, that's another issue. The society ostracizes a convicted fellow. And ostracizing them, keeping them off from system, makes them to become more hardened. And that's why I'm telling you, these people you need to sit them down, focus on how they can change. I am sitting down with you today. If I did not tell you that I was in prison some time ago, you won't believe it. Why? Because, thank God, my change is different from just reformation. It is transformation because it is spiritual. But whether spiritual or not spiritual, it took place in the prison. But we need officers in the prisons now. And they are there. They are educated prison officers. Highly educated. They have their masters, they have their PhD, but they are being wasted because they don't allow them to use their area of specialization in training the image. We traveled to London prison. Myself, Obadira Kotejoshua, we were in a prison. And a prisoner spoke to one of the instructors. Please, I want to take photograph with the king. And they allowed him. But here they will ask you, kneel down there. You will die there. You will die in this prison. You know, all those character, the teachers, the prison officers themselves, we need a special training on correctional institution. All
right, we'll find out who else, where else can we extend this mindset, this training to when we come back. I'll conclude this in a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's our concluding moments now. But when you talk about shift in mindset, paradigm, if you will, do we also expect that from, because I know sometimes when you're coming to work in the morning, you see some men in black with torchlights just jump in front of my car, and, you know, the mindset, sometimes I wonder, do they need this orientation and mindset change as well, such that even if one doesn't have one document or the other, should the approach change that, well, yeah, you will be going to prison, or if they're rounding people up, should they still be thinking about sending you to prison, or will the mindset of taking you to a correctional facility or center so you come out, I mean, better for society?
That is what we are trying to advocate now, that with a correctional institute on ground, you are not going to the prison. You are going to a place where we can change your attitudinal characters that are bad. Because what you are doing, shouting, even when you are talking to somebody and you are raising up your hand too high, you have started becoming aggressive. You must learn how to be able to speak with some decorum. You must be able, people must learn, even people outside, we within ourselves must learn how to accept others. You don't see because somebody has been a prisoner or somebody is not well to do in the society, then you look down on that person and you treat him like an animal. No. Let us change our attitude to our fellow human being, particularly those who comes out of prison. Let's give them another opportunity so that they can now see it that they need a new life.
So with this new reality now, first, do we have enough infrastructure? Talking about prisons.
Yeah.
You talk about prisons being overcrowded. And then what are the changes we need to see specifically in the structure, for example?
So many things need to be changed. Even the prison uniform must change. It will start from the way they dress. Because before they used to see themselves as working as a police officer, we are together. We work together with them. I mean, no, a correctional officer is a civil man with a milk of kindness in him. Besides that, we must also thank Mr. President so that he can see more to what is going on ground. I don't call him Mr. Go-Slow. I call him a silent achiever. Because what he has achieved now is part of restructuring without fighting. Nobody knew that yesterday that announcement is going to be made. So I give kudos to him and to those that allowed him to do that.
We'll end on that good note. Mr. Kaide Williams of the Prison Rehabilitation Mission International. But are you going to change the word prison from your...
Definitely.
That'd be nice.
You call it now, but...
All right, then.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure. Well, that's the show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I am Kayode Okikele.
I am Ayo Makinde. Good morning.
Namaope Ogun Yusuf. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.